Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, collectors of all ages, welcome back to AussieVerse! Where tonight I am joined by Rob Spedsy Lisle. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, g'day, mate. Well, how am I? I don't know. I think I'm getting shorter. When you're parked and the car next to you reverses, and then you go, oh, for a moment you think you're going forward. Well, so my kids are growing so fast. I feel like it's almost as though I can feel myself getting shorter. That, and we were just talking before the show about posture and whatnot. I'm getting more and more as I draw more at my desk. I'm getting more like this. My kids are getting like this, and I find myself looking up more.
I was going to say, you know what? I think that happens when you have kids. You just start getting shorter, don't you?
Yeah, I notice like many more grey hairs. So I'm becoming that dude from Up, except it's called Down. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it stops somewhere and you don't just keep shrinking, because then you might be able to be like some sort of I don't know why Thumbelina came to my head when it should have been like the Atom or something.
No,
But
I'll take Spedzalina. That sounds good. Yeah, and you can just carry me around on your shoulder. You can do podcasts, and I'll just chime in every now and again from here.
would your family still accept you as a really small person, though? Like a really small person?
Well, they better. I hope that I've raised them to accept people of all shapes and sizes.
And that's how you start a video, talking about something completely nothing to do with the video. We are here for a Secret Invasion review. What did you think of it? What did we think of it? We're about to tell you. But before we get into it, if you want to hit us. If you want to talk to us on Instagram. That's what I'm trying to say. You can go to AussieVerse_Comx, where you can also see our graphic designer, our wonderful thumbnail creator, A51_designs. And while I'm doing some plugging, I've got a little more loving to show you, and it's for this man right here. Go check him out on Instagram, Spedsy. Thank you very much. All right, my mate. So I think the first thing we should be doing is talking about our thoughts leading into the show. We've seen the trailer. Okay, I don't even know if you want to talk about the trailer, but what were your expectations, man? What did you hope for? What did you want?
Well, I had what I think were realistic expectations, and even those weren't met. But anyway, and yeah, disclaimer: my intention is not to add to the internet bile of I dare not turn AussieVerse into a clickbaity. This is why this failed at the whatever. It's just one random person's thoughts. But so here was my thinking. So when Secret Invasion was announced, I was very excited because I loved and still love the comic book. Now, I understand that there are big movie stars in all kinds of roles, and at the time, maybe even Fox wasn't with Disney. I understand it's not going to be faithful. I saw Age of Ultron. It was nothing like the comic. I totally get it. But the vibe, the main, the crust, the something, I assumed would be there. Now, one of the things when watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sharon Carter got a bigger role than she had previously, and it was a complete 180, I felt, from what she had been in the Captain America series. And she, from memory, it's been a while since I saw it, but she was dealing some sort of something. She was being a naughty lass, working out of Madripoor. She was borderline evil.
Yep.
And keeping it a little bit on the down low, away from the Falcon. And so I thought, holy moly, they're playing the long game. She's a Skrull. She's been taken over at some point. So no, I wasn't expecting Robert Downey Jr. to show up or Thor to be revealed as a Skrull. I understand these people cost millions of dollars and all that sort of stuff. So my expectations were what I feel moderate. But I expected I was kind of hoping to explain that to be explained, that I felt Sharon Carter was way out of character. and kind of hoped it would tie into some of the other Disney Plus shows. What about you? What did you think?
Well, first and foremost, I agree with absolutely everything you said. The Sharon Carter thing though hadn't occurred to me. And I remember you posted that on Facebook, basically what you just said. And that's what made me go, we need to review this and talk about it, because I hadn't even thought about that. And I went, wow, that's actually a really good point. If I had have thought of that at the time you did and that didn't happen, I would have been pretty disappointed too.
Yeah.
But to not repeat your answers, even though I agree with them, just to expand on it just a little, the thing that sort of disappointed me, I guess, and again, not to just be negative, but I'm going to be real as well with how I feel about it, and that is, I believe the general consensus towards Marvel as a whole now is that they're scraping by. I think that, as it not scraping by, that's harsh, but they're nowhere near making the impact that they were. And I've always supported that, because I've always said that's what has to happen. You know, there was 10 years of movies and stuff before the big grand finale and all that. And now we're starting at the bottom again by new characters and all that. So by the time we get to the end of this, it's going to be amazing, and and all that sort of stuff. So I've never dissed what they're bringing out now. I have said what I haven't liked though, like a couple of shows. But anyway, I digress. The point that I'm getting at is that I would have assumed that Marvel would have heard the general consensus towards Marvel at the moment, and I think they would have said to themselves, all right, we had this big idea with Disney and the show, not with Disney, but with putting the shows on Disney Plus and all that. Hasn't really worked. And for all we know, it may have. We don't know the numbers and all of that. But fans don't really think it has. Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, not all of these have been absolutely stellar shows. So when Secret Invasion was coming, I wanted to be realistic. I wanted to say, let's not get our hopes up. Age of Ultron, Ragnarok, and all that jazz, But I think deep down, I was hoping for something pretty cool. At least one point in the show that was like really, really cool. And the coolest thing we got was the final battle, which was the coolest part. So a bit underwhelming. Yeah. Which is a shame.
I struggle with I'm trying to think of like The Last of Us is a genre sort of show, right? It's zombies and it's nuts, and you work all day and you look forward to that sort of hour that you've set aside to sit down with your partner and delve into the show of the week or whatever. And so something like The Last of Us, I almost spend all day going, oh, yes, I get to watch The Last of Us tonight. Hell yeah. Now, and so I'm a Marvel guy. You can see there, of all these trades behind me, there are lots of Marvel spines. I don't know why the Marvel shows haven't had me going, oh, yes, I get to watch ... tonight. And that's not to say I haven't liked... I'm not like I understand like Ms. Marvel wasn't written for a 40-something white dude. I took like other people exist and can have things directed towards them. That said, I really enjoyed Ms. Marvel. I enjoyed She-Hulk. The finale of She-Hulk was one of the most like I said the words holy shit over and over, because I couldn't believe what was happening in the best way. I was like, holy, that sort of thing. Moon Knight, it didn't do it for me. Loki, I know people hold that up as the best one. It reeks to me as a I could tell COVID had an effect. It was two people on a green screen over and over. That said, what's the Loki dude? I can't remember. Tom Hiddleston. He's just a ball of charisma. Like he's just fun to watch. So that show I enjoyed. I think Hawkeye was the one I enjoyed the most. It felt really part of the universe. I'm a sucker for the old dude and the young girl protege sort of lone wolf and cub thing. But yeah, so I'm a little bit perplexed why these things haven't had me hanging to watch them. And I thought Secret Invasion might be the one because it felt a little bit more. I was telling Nick May, I was like, why do I like not hanging to see these? And he goes, "'Cause you're nearly 50." And I was like, I don't know if that's a thing because like I had to see Endgame 3 times in the movies. I've seen it 6 times since. I freaking love it.
Oh, that is
So
great.
yeah, I don't know why it's not hitting for me. And so I thought Secret Invasion, to get back to my point, would was going to be the one because I thought maybe, you know, it's got the premise is undeniable. The whole who can you trust thing, they're gonna have so much fun with that.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah.
They chose not to have any fun at all.
Well,
Drink break.
I have been watching all of these with Claudia, my partner, and you know she doesn't read. Or she started to read a few comics, but you know she doesn't generally read comics. So I consider her an outsider of the populace when the viewing of the, you know, there's comic book people and there's not. So there has been some things that she's enjoyed. Like I think she definitely enjoyed Loki. She enjoyed some parts of Captain America and Winter Soldier. She liked Wanda Vision.
Yeah.
But other than that, she hasn't really enjoyed many of them, I don't think. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I had to nearly beg her to finish Secret Invasion with me. It was such a chore for her.
Yeah.
And at the start, I'm like, just bear with it, you know, just stick with it. And the more I kept telling her that, the more I kept realizing I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
You know, because I wanted to really love the baddie. I wanted to really love everything that was happening. And the only thing that I genuinely liked out of it was Don Cheadle being a prick.
Yeah.
You know, but still, I mean, it was enjoyable. It was just not what it should have been, eh?
Yeah. I guess that's the well, see that's the enjoy that was Moon Knight for me. Enjoyable. I liked going on the journey, but then I wasn't thrilled with the destination, and that made me despise the journey. This I don't know. This one I was just like, why? Oh, why? Oh,
Yeah.
but why not? And just I didn't get it. Like, I don't know. Do you want to talk about the first episode sort of thoughts, or
Yep.
because you set off something in me, and I thought, oh, I should wait till we get into the if I can it kind of all morphs into one a little bit. But I
Go
do
for it,
remember.
man. Go
I
nuts,
do
man.
remember. Well, so firstly, and I'm not here to debate it with the world, but the intro being AI artwork was so perplexing. I can understand why on a short film or something where the budget's $3.50 that you might use AI to do the intro. But you're a TV show based on comic books where the characters are created or co-created by one of the people uses a pencil on a piece of paper. Nick Fury was drawn onto paper.
That's a great point.
You're also Marvel Studios. You own a comic book company that produces comics that are drawn, and even if drawn digitally, they're still a person with a pen in their hand. So I just found it so weird that they would jump in to AI. If you don't know the problem that many of us artists have with AI, it's that it aggregates like it basically steals bits from a whole bunch of artists to come up with an image. Like the Devil's Toilet 2 is on. So if you want to devil standing like this in a cartoon sort of form, it will take some of my artwork to make that image for you. You know, and a weird aside, I was actually like all my artist friends were like the ones that are higher up than me were sort of like, oh, they stole my artwork, and I'm like, oh, they're not going to steal mine. And then I looked at it, whoa, they stole mine. It was a weird achievement. But yeah, perplexing intro. When like shows like 24 is just get a digital 2 and a 4 that goes blink, blink, blink. Like we don't need a big elaborate intro if you don't want to do one. Getting AI to do it just seems so weird.
That is an amazing point because again, I wouldn't have thought about that. And yeah, wow. Next, sir. Next,
Well,
keep going.
So next, so as you say, you were watching it with your partner. I watched it with my partner, and her intro to comic books is basically me forcing her to watch everything. And so she knows what Marvel has told her on the big screen, and even then, it's not like I absorb it and sit with it. For her, it's just like, oh yeah, that was fun, and forgets. And then we'll watch whatever, and she goes, now who's that guy again? That said, like she's loved a great many of the movies and whatnot. But so for those who may not know, the comic book Secret Invasion, the whole premise of Skrulls opens with the Avengers are fighting Elektra and the Hand, and they get the better of Elektra. And firstly, that whole storyline of Elektra leading the Hand, wicked. And then I forget, I think it might be Wolverine that kills her. I can't remember, but someone kills Elektra, and she turns into a Skrull out of nowhere. It had nothing to do with the story at hand. It was just the last page. What?
Yeah.
And then Spider-Woman takes the Skrull to Tony Stark, shows Iron Man, and says, look at this. Like, how long has Elektra been a Skrull? Like, holy crap. And then suddenly they're looking at each other. Like, so if Elektra could have been a Skrull, anyone could be a Skrull. Like, you could be a Skrull. I could be a Skrull. Thor could be a Skrull. Captain America could be a Skrull. So that question starts to loom over. Suddenly that's an exciting premise. Like, who can you trust? This show opens with Martin Freeman running down an alleyway, runs into a guy's thing, and then explains Skrulls. Like the whole show don't tell thing. He just says what Skrulls are to like. There's no drama in that situation. There's no like, I dare not say how they should have done it, but I'm going to do it. Imagine a scene where Maria Hill and Nick Fury are on a mission, like a completely got nothing to do with a Secret Invasion mission, and you choose to kill Maria Hill for whatever reason. So kill her in the first episode during this mission and have her turn into a Skrull. Have that be a what like, and I go into it expecting Skrulls. My wife goes into it expecting the new Marvel show, Nick Fury's in it. That's all she knows. So for her, that reveal would be like, holy crap. Even for me, it would be holy crap, because how long has Maria Hill been a Skrull? Has she been a Skrull since Avengers 1? Questions. Who else could be a Skrull? I don't know. What did you feel about the opening scene? Were you in?
So at the opening scene, I was still full of excitement. So I have a lot more leeway with those sorts of things. Those sorts of thoughts don't occur to me until probably after I've finished watching the first episode or a little bit later. But I am such a fanboy when it comes to these first episodes, because I just sit there and I'm like, what's happening? Then I'm like, that's not what I wanted, but I'm sure it's going to be cooler. Yep, cool. Yeah. That was kind of all right. We're getting there. Yep. All right, it's over. Next week's going to be great,
Yeah.
And look, I've always, again, had a lot of leeway for these shows, because I've always been the believer that even though, of course, they're meant to be good and entertaining and enjoyable, they're really more filling the gaps in between the movies, you know, as well as introducing a new character. You know, that's the way I sort of viewed them. So they didn't have to stand up to the degree of a movie. However, when you have these ideas that are so basic, like the Skrulls idea, that could be so dramatic and so fantastic, and they've done it on paper before. Okay, they're not going to do it the same in the show. I get it, but why can't they do it similar? So
yeah,
you know, I'm agreeing with you. You know, the only reason why I'm jumping ahead now, but the only reason why Don Cheadle being a Skrull was so cool and so great to watch was because he was the only one that we cared about. You know,
yeah,
anyone else that acted differently, we wouldn't have noticed.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, it annoyed me though. Don Cheadle, like, was the president an idiot? Like when your trusted advisor is completely different, and he's saying, "Bomb Russia, just bomb Russia. Don't listen to the other people, just bomb Russia." And he's going, you know, you've got a point. And it's like, shouldn't you read some briefs from other people? There's been word that aliens are like masquerading as people. Maybe a friend who's acting completely different. Maybe don't bomb Russia. Maybe or sleep on it.
Or get a second opinion.
Yeah, get a second Skrull in there and ask him. No, I should say, I'm exactly like you. When my default setting is, I love it. I'm ready to love it. And the world, yeah, I go in, anything over a 5 out of 10 is a win. That's why, these complaints about, you know, me not liking Moon Knight, or not that I didn't like it, but just found it it was fine. I'm not on the internet complaining about those sort of things, but then every now and then, just like, I'm just so perplexed by, you say the Martin Freeman thing didn't come to you at the beginning. Yeah, it didn't make me like, I wasn't already hating the show because of it. I was just sort of like, more like, one of the joys of watching with your partner is the what, you know, and you get to pause it, and then you get to explain 30 years of comic books.
Yeah.
But Martin Freeman explained it before we even got the reveal, and I was sort of like, kind of denied my wife of that cool moment where she gets to go, what? Martin Freeman is suddenly a, you know, but anyway, so moving forward, I can't remember then what so I was really looking forward to Emilia Clarke being in it. I won't pretend that I've loved her since her days on Broadway or something. Like, I'm a Game of Thrones nerd. Daenerys was awesome until she wasn't.
Did you think she was going to be the queen?
I thought she was going to be something.
Yeah.
I thought, just like, what did I write down? I was like, everyone's kind of in like everyday clothes, right?
Yeah.
But then in this show, there's a big deal made about when Nick Fury puts on the leather jacket and the eye patch, which was strange. You don't need. We've established you don't need the eye patch, but it was like, he was putting on his mask, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then he becomes larger than life, and it was just like, holy shit. Daenerys Targaryen, the moment she's on screen, larger than life. She's just like, it's like wrestling, you know, when the wrestler steps out and you know, they stand apart.
Yeah.
She would, I don't know what they did to her, but like, I thought she was sick or something the whole time. She just looked like weird haircut and weird, like, just like they were going for the everyday person, I guess, but it was like a little bit too I was like, that's Emilia Clarke. She's a badass. And I
certainly didn't.
Sorry.
I certainly didn't expect her to be a daughter of a Skrull. Like, it's an easy casting, but I thought she was going to be somebody more important.
Yeah, and I mean, and now there's a conundrum. She's essentially the most important. Like, she's Captain Marvel with Spidey senses and Groot powers, and like, she's the most powerful character in the Marvel universe. So, you know, I'm guessing in the first 5 minutes of Captain Marvel, the Marvels movie or whatever, they're going to depower her or something. Because how do you?
Yeah.
There's either they're just going to pretend that this show never happened, or that I guess needs to be addressed. Because why do you
I
need to
think it
call the
does.
Avengers? Just call Daenerys,
Yeah.
because she
Yeah.
can do all of it.
She's got a hell of a lot of powers now because what did she have, mate? She had the Extremis, she had Groot, she had Corgan, whatever his name is.
Yeah,
The
Korgs.
I think at some point she had Hulk.
Yeah,
Or am I,
she
yeah,
had Captain Marvel because she was
yeah,
flying around with
that's
the
right.
sparkles and stuff.
So yeah, no one's beating her. No
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Which so what else did I have? Oh yeah, so that takes us. You know, we're jumping all over the place, but the whole idea of the harvest. Now, I guess they did sort of set up in Avengers 1 that Nick Fury is a little dodgy. That, like, remember he was building these guns or whatever that
Mhm.
Captain America found. I can't remember what the deal was, but was he using Hydra technology, or there was some reason why it was dodgy? I can't really recall.
Yeah, it was something along those lines.
But it was shady business practices. Now, I thought the idea was that then Nick Fury, by way of the influence of Captain America and whatever, had. But the whole harvest thing, that's got to be dodgy as hell, right? So he's like,
Yeah.
after the cleanup, everyone's, trying to rebuild stuff, and he's just like, oh, I might take some of that Spidey blood.
Yeah,
Oh, I
exactly
might take
right.
some of that. Like, this is the stuff that Professor X got excommunicated out of the X-Men for like 10 years when I can't remember, like he invaded someone's brain or whatever, and then someone
Yeah. I
made
got
a big deal about all the manipulations he's been doing of Jean Grey and things like that, and now then he became this morally grey sort of character, and I'm like, that's Nick Fury Town now, right? What happens when the Avengers find out that he's been hanging out with their blood?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Actually, will there be any repercussions from that? I'm going to be honest with you though. That whole scene annoyed me. Where Nick Fury's walking in and he's coughing and he's spluttering and he's, because everybody watching this show knows that he's faking it, and
Yeah.
especially when he grabs the drink and he's
Yeah.
shaking, and I'm like, okay, so they're not doing it to fool us because it's just too obvious, they're doing it to fool the character, the bad guy, but what did we get out of that? Like,
Yeah.
it just, I guess it's the same argument that you have for the opening of the show. That ending just seemed weak. Like, anybody's going to fall for that all of a sudden Nick Fury's dying and he's dragging himself and he's like, come on, man.
No, I fell for it.
Oh, you did? You did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I was wondering from a different angle. I was like, is this going to be like, do we need to depower Nick Fury? What's going on with the coughing? I don't.
Right.
That just seemed like a whole part of the story that seemed unnecessary. Until I totally bought in. I didn't know it was Emilia Clarke. That's the one bit where I was like, oh, that was pretty good. Which,
So what, does he have powers now, like, for good?
No, well, so that was Emilia Clarke as a Skrull.
Oh, that's right.
As Nick Fury.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So I bought into that reveal, but then it kind of undoes all the philosophical chats they were doing. But I guess that's Talos's daughter was having those philosophical chats.
Yeah. If I
mean,
may.
I wish. Yeah, please.
Oh, no, sorry. You wish?
Oh no, I was. I wish we had got to the Super Skrull sooner. I found the villain guy to just be generic 24 villain. Goon number 12 from
from Get
a
Smart.
movie with Mandy Patinkin. What's the show that Homeland? Like that sort of. Yeah, it was just a nothing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking for, like, where's the Loki bad guy? Doesn't need a fancy whatevers, but just give me some charisma and some something.
And I think the problem with the whole Super Skrull thing is that unless they're actually going to go somewhere with this later and it's going to be a payoff, it's such a waste because
Yeah.
Fantastic Four's coming. So now we're not going to get the real Super Scroll. That's a reveal that now there's a baddie with all the powers of the Fantastic Four. And even if they do that in the future, it's not going to be as cool as it should have been, because we've seen now Amelia Clark with all these other powers. But if I may, I want to go to what I think is probably the biggest point of contention of the show, and it's very. When you're on the internet, we have to be very careful with what we say, because when we talk about topics like this, it's very easily misconstrued, and people will automatically label you names and things that we don't want to say on this show. So let's just say Nick Fury had a wife.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Do you need to answer that?
No, sorry, I didn't know that was coming through.
Oh, I can see I thought it was Shield, picking up on our transmission. Yeah, I mean, talk about neglected wife. Holy moly. I come to do a show like this, and my wife's just like, "Oh, you're streaming again? Like, when are we going to hang out?" But Nick Fury's just going, like, he's just been hanging out in space. Like, the last we saw, he was in a robe and slippers walking around on a spaceship. I don't know. I like hanging out with my wife, and when I'm not with her, I miss her. So it's just like, yeah, I thought it was a bit odd to just be out of nowhere. I wasn't. It was a quaint surprise, I guess. And I liked moments of their relationship and stuff. There must be some weird undertones there, though, about her not being able to be her true self in front of him and stuff. And they kind of got there in the end, but then it was an awkward, like, him kissing her Skrull self, and you could see her teeth, and it was just weird kissing. And I guess the point was that, look, he's accepting her for what she was. But I'm like, did we have to watch the weird kissing scene? It was very strange watching the lady in makeup. And but yeah, it was all right. But can you tell me what the point of it was, though? Like, I don't really. Yeah,
exactly.
See, I have to do with anything.
I was upset with it because, just like I want my movies and my shows to be just like the comics, and I know that it's a losing argument. These aren't made for me. I get it. Okay, I'll stop writing to Marvel and complaining.
Yeah.
But the point is that, I mean, okay, Nick Fury's a man. He's a human. So he deserves some love. He deserves to have a happy ending, I guess. But God damn it, he's never had any sort of love interest. I mean, maybe in the old Shield comics, but in everything Nick Fury that I've ever read, he's never had any sort of love interest whatsoever. He's obviously had sex at some point, because he ended up having a child in the comics and having the Samuel Jackson version of himself in the comics now. But
yeah,
I'm just like, why? Like, why, man? And when it first happened, the reveal, at first I was like, whoa, she's a Skrull. And I was shocked, because I assumed that Nick Fury didn't know that. And I'm like, his own wife is a Skrull. His own wife got one past Nick Fury. No one gets anything past Nick Fury, But then it was like, no, Nick Fury does know that. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't really make any sense. Like, I mean, I guess in the story it does. They met, they fell in love. Yeah, cool. But why? Like,
yeah,
I just don't get it.
Something else that's why, and this is nowhere near as big a deal. But like, all this stuff's dorky, right? Like, the name Iron Man is weird. Captain America is weird. It's all weird and dorky. So, but where it's our dorky stuff. And so we have Shield, and in the comics they have Sword, and Sword is they protect. The Shield is, they look after Earth, and then Sword is up there ready to bloody attack incoming whatever.
Yeah.
They keep calling it Saber. I mean, they've called it Saber earlier, but they call it Saber, and to me that just reeks of, like, in the writing room, just going, You know what? I think we should call it Saber. Doesn't that sound cooler? What do you guys think? When Saber is just as dorky as Sword. But you know what sounds cool with Shield? Sword and Shield. Saber and Shield. It's just like, that's a nothing gripe. But it's just like a little bit of a... Why?
It really bugs me too, man. And did you watch Shield, the show?
I watched more of it than I should have. I watched
Because
I think I bailed out just before Ghost Rider came, and I kept thinking I should go back and watch for the Ghost Rider stuff. But just that there was one guy that just annoyed me. the main guy that always ended up being the villain,
Right.
Wade or what was it? Ward,
yeah. Would you believe? Would you believe I watched it all up until the last 2 or 3 episodes?
You're just like,
who does that? Who does that?
You're so close to the finish line. You're just like, nah.
I kept saying I'm going to finish it one day. Anyway, I could have sworn, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody out there, or let me know if I'm right, but they've mentioned Sword a few times in Shield.
Right.
And if they haven't, then I'd put money on the fact that this almost false memory that I've created exists somewhere in an episode or a TV show or a movie somewhere. Somebody has said Sword, because I remember going, ooh, when I heard it. So I don't know what's going on there. Like, why would you change it?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah. It just seems like completely unnecessary. They're both dorky. Just stick with the one that was already established as dorky. Like,
yeah.
And as I feel the need to say over and over again, I don't actually really care. This doesn't keep me awake. I just sort of go, that's weird, and then I move on. But then, when we're talking about it, this is like, I worked in a comic shop for 11 years. The fun of working in a comic shop is just sitting and like ragging on stuff, and and praise some stuff. But ragging's a good time. I think
it's like, always got to love a good rag. I like it when the ending, right? What did you think about that final battle scene? Was it really cruel, or was it
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of didn't really fit with the show. We'd had no sort of action beats like that. The action we'd had were, shootouts and stuff like that. It was fine. Like, the Drax arm was a bit weird. Like, of all the, like, I don't know. What, I just wish she could have looked cool. Why couldn't she look cool? Like, just, when Thor, like, in Endgame, was slobby Thor the whole time, and then when it comes to the battle, he just like lightning and his beard goes all cool. I'm just a sucker for people looking cool, and when they don't look cool, I don't think they're cool. And so, I just wanted her to look cool. That's all. I mean, that's a weird gripe to have. But he looked, the Super Skrull looked awesome. And when she was like lit up like Captain Marvel and stuff, it was pretty cool. But yeah, I was kind of a little bit checked out by then. If it might have been great, but it wasn't enough for me to it was intercut with scenes of an idiot president trying to decide whether to bomb Russia or not, because his one little goon guy is yelling at him to bomb Russia. Well, yeah. And so earlier in the show too, Don Cheadle says to Samuel Jackson, he goes, well, you can't prove, you'd have to kill me to prove I'm a Skrull, and you don't want to have that blood on your hands or something like that, or you don't want to be seen killing a colonel or whatever. But then in the very next scene, we see, I think it was the British lady, the intelligence sort of lady, cuts a dude's hand, and the hand turns to Skrull, like just showing that actually he could just like just cut Rhodey's finger off or whatever, or give him a paper cut and it would have gone green. Just strange. Like, that's the sort of thing like when making comic books, you would turn over the page and go, ugh, I kind of negated what I just, so you'd rearrange and try and put that scene later in the book or something.
If that logic made sense, mate, there wouldn't be any mistakes that we ever see.
Yeah.
Because I think that too, man. How do you create something and then see the final product and have some blaringly obvious plot hole like that? I don't understand.
I mean, I guess I'm guilty of it too. You spend 10 hours making a page of a comic book, and then later on you get it printed and you look at it and you go, oh, that doesn't really make sense and you're like, oh, I'm not changing it. Bloody hell.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Disney though, mate, that have staff,
Yeah, so maybe you've spent your all your millions, and so there's no money left, and then you see that cut together and you're like, I should have caught that, but I don't know. That's me trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. And maybe there's a reason. Also, I have a horrible attention span, and some things fly by me. So maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation, and I missed it. But to me, it jarred me a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear some more gripes?
Sure.
So they make a big deal about their radioactive base being a place where Skrulls can be themselves. Mm-hmm. And 95% of them are in their human form. So I just and that just reeked of in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, when you've only got a certain amount of money to spend, and to make a person look like a vampire, it costs a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So have them as humans for as long as you can, and then do, and try to do the change to a vampire off camera, because that's cheaper as well.
Yeah, I had that same thought with the bad guy. I always forget his name, but he spent so much of that show in his human form. And I'm like, wouldn't he be the person that would, I know he explained it at the end saying, this face, but still, you're walking around with that face without fury. You're like, wouldn't you want to have your normal green face whenever you're around your own people and shit?
And I think they tried to explain it by saying earlier on, the longer you're in your human form, the more convincing that human form will be, or something like that. But then the bad guy is tricked into thinking that Daenerys is Nick Fury. So, and she only just did that. You know what I mean? She just was like, you know what? I'm going to be Nick Fury. And he's like, oh, I am convinced. It's like the head Skrull was convinced straight away. So she didn't need to spend 2 years as Nick Fury. So I don't get. So you had an explanation, but then you shat on your own explanation.
Yeah. Oh, that is hilarious. That is hilarious in a bad way.
Yeah. And then one of my biggest gripes. Oh, not really. I don't care. I don't actually care, you guys. So in the books, in the comics, this, we know this. The Captain America is fighting something in his book, and it's the end of the world. Iron Man's fighting something over in this book, and it's the end of the world. Captain America doesn't come and help Iron Man. Iron Man doesn't come and help Captain America. They don't address it. It's just, who knows when these things are actually happening? Are they happening at the exact same time? We don't think about it. It's just comics. Don't worry about it. So you have this world-ending threat again. And first, that's another thing too. Not everything has to be the end of the world. You can just have a small problem that needs dealing with. Like the Super Skrull, wanting to build an army of Super Skrulls. That's your story. So it's not the end of the world. It could be maybe in 10 years. So it's Nick Fury nipping it in the bud now. But anyway, what was my point? So they explain away that the Avengers don't come and help by someone asking what the audience is asking, and not us, but the mainstream audience who have watched all these shows Connect, watched all the movies Connect and whatnot. And he says, sir, isn't it time we called in your friends or something like that, your Avenger friends? And he goes, not this time. This time's personal. And And I was just like, it's the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? It's like the world's going to end. Do everything you can to stop
Yeah.
it. Don't be
Yeah.
just like, like I could stop this with the help of all my buddies, but I'd kind of like to do it by myself. Well, maybe don't risk 7 billion lives because it's personal. One of my favorite movie bits is I can't remember if it's in Firefly or in Serenity, but I think it's Serenity, when Captain Mal Reynolds is fighting the bad guy at the end, and he's getting his ass kicked, and one of the other guys wants to jump in, but what's her name? Gail Torres, I think her name is. But I can't remember her name in the show for some reason. She stops him and says, "No, no, no. This is something the captain has to do himself." And then the captain's guy go, "No, I don't. No, I don't." And they go, "Oh." And then they go and help him. And yeah, I just find that this is personal thing just odd when there's millions of lives at stake. Why not just like a throwaway line of just like, "I tried. They're busy." And then you could even have a comedic thing where he goes, "Even Ant-Man," and then the other guys listen them all, and have Nick Fury get pissed off and just go, "I said they're busy," some sort of explain it in comedy or something. But this is personal. It was odd for me.
Yeah. 100% agree again, man. It's very hard to argue with any of the points that you make, because I think you're voicing the opinion of a lot of people. I would like to hear the thoughts from people that don't necessarily read comics to see if they liked it, because I think that would be a very, very different perspective. But yeah, have you got anything else for us, mate?
My last one would just be, well, a little one. There's Captain Marvel, her and Nick Fury have spent all this time trying to find a suitable planet for the Skrulls to live on. They haven't been able to find one. Yet at the beginning of Endgame, Carol flies down to what's called the Garden, a beautiful planet with food just there ready for Thanos to pick. And she says, "There's no one down there. No guards, no armies, no cannons, no whatever. It's just him." Like, they made a point of saying there's this beautiful place. And they all go there. They can all breathe there, no problem. Like, anyway, that's just that's like something like, we should have just a throwaway mention that.
No, Thanos exploded it or something.
Yeah.
You
what have we got? Then Maria Hill is my last one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't have your Tony Starks. You don't have Thor and all that sort of stuff. Maria Hill, your only other since day one character, and she just dies for almost no reason. I mean, I think no reason. The only reason was then later for Rhodey to say, we're going to go on the news and say you killed her. Oh no! It just seemed like a waste. She could have been a Skrull, like and infiltrated and betrayed Nick Fury and then released at the end. It just seemed a waste of a character who's been there since day, like longer than Martin Freeman. Yeah, just an unnecessary death in an unnecessary way.
They killed her for the exact same reason that they kill anybody during any Marvel event, because you'd remember that. When I say back in the day, I don't really necessarily mean when we were kids. It might have even been in our 20s still. But when there was an event and a character died, it was actually really meaningful still. Whether they came back a long time later or not, that death was still really impactful. Now, like, I think the last one that are Civil War II, the story, Rhodey died, I think, and She-Hulk, and like it just, and none of it mattered. Like in just a few comics later, and so you're obviously killing people solely to sell comics, to say this is the death of. When it comes to the show, yeah, it's pointless, because unless you can bring her back somehow, which of course you can. It's comics, a TV show, but it was a waste. Yeah.
And then just I guess lastly, the ending in the comics, obviously you can't do that in the show. But the ending of the comics, the consequences rippled right throughout the Marvel universe, and led to some of the best comics I've ever read. And the consequences of this show were nothing. I don't think they were anything. They've got a MacGuffin on their hands to deal with by way of a superpowered Amelia Clark. But other than that, what happened and why? I don't know. Who cares?
Well, my closing statement that I'd like to give is that a popular theory that seems to be going around, which I really hope is true, is that all of this is leading into like a Dark Reign sort of era of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where Thunderbolt Ross, Harrison Ford, and the Kingpin are going to be like Harrison Ford, I'm guessing, is probably going to be the new president of the United States.
Ooh,
and
okay.
Kingpin is going to be the mayor of New York City, and they're all going to outlaw heroes. That's why the Thunderbolt movies comes out, and it'll be the Thunderbolts going after the heroes. It's so, and yeah, I think we're going to be able to. I'm hoping enough cool stuff is coming, where it's worth it. All of this that we've, that's the point that I'm trying to get at, and I like to believe it is.
Yeah,
I like to believe it is.
Yeah, me too. I left the theater after Thor 2 going, oh, that was kind of weird. And then, you watch Endgame and you're just like, Thor 2 is super important and you have to watch it. Maybe they can retcon these things into importance. But I don't want to be this guy because this guy annoys me, but this show kind of annoyed me. And you told me to talk about it, so this is what we got. But I like to be more positive normally and lift up things rather than put them down. But I think this one put itself down.
We always like to be positive here in AussieVerse, but we also like to be real, and just because we don't like something doesn't mean we have to shit on it, but it doesn't mean we have to lie about our thoughts either. So thank you very much for joining me tonight, Spedsy. I sincerely appreciate it, mate. And thank you, everyone out there, for joining us. We are AussieVerse. We are here for live chats, Sharif's Custom Corner, some other videos that are coming out, more reviews. Who knows what the hell's coming out? If there's anything that you want to see, please hit me up on Instagram at the handle that I showed you earlier, which is somewhere here.
I'll probably just text you. You mean the people. Sorry, my bad.
And don't forget, you can also hit up Spedsy. Go check out his work. Speds, is there anything out there that you want to promote for yourself quickly, my friend?
No.
Okay. Spedsy has some comics, man. Go check him out. He has some real kick-ass stuff, mate. Some real funny stuff and some real awesome stuff. Different, awesome. We have Devil's Toilet. We have Sluggish. They're my two recommendations.
Yeah, and if you want to make a YouTube video ripping them apart, please do so. Fair game. Because I've done it now. I've joined the internet bile, so I've become one of those hashtag haters. So let me have it. So as always, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Did you already say this?
No, I didn't say that one.
What you got to do too, because they make this so difficult, you got to hit the little bell thing. There's like 45 different functions you've got to do to like just ring up Mark Zuckerberg, tell him you want to see this, and then he'll show it to you or something. But you've got to remember a few things. One of them is that AussieVerse is for life. And I'm sure Beau will be back next week or sometime. More videos. So if you want to see some more videos, give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. And before we go, I do want to tell you that Comx are our humble, beautiful sponsors of this show. If you're not sure who they are, please go check them out, because I like to call them Australia's #1 comic hub, because if you go there, you can check out Australian comic book creators, illustrators, writers, all of the above. You can buy comics there All of them are fantastic. At least all the ones that I've bought are anyway. And if it doesn't matter how many you buy, because it's one flat shipping rate, this end little promo that I'm going to show you is from a little show every Friday night called Drink and Draw, where you can see Spedsy, Sizzle, and a host of other fantastically amazing, talented people on the Comx show. Go check them out. Drink and Draw Friday nights, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Creators, comic book artists, comic book illustrators, you want to know where to go to buy anything about Australian comics books, and you go to Comx. Because what's the best thing about Comx? They bring Australian creators together, and not only that, they have one flat shipping rate. 10 comics, it doesn't matter. They don't care. They will ship it at one price. Comx, ladies and gentlemen, go find out.